Congresswoman, thanks so much for coming in to join us tonight.
Thank you.
So it seems to me that Speaker Boehner is starting this negotiation with an awfully hard line, saying the debt ceiling is not going to be lifted unless you can agree to trillions of dollars of cuts. Is that feasible between now and the middle of August when this needs to get done?
Well, you know, both the president and the Democrats in the House of Representatives have proposed a budget that reduces the deficit and the debt by $4 trillion. The problem with the Republican plan is that they want to do it by abolishing Medicare and Medicaid as well, and doing it in a way that really impacts further burdens the middle class. What the president has said is that our visions of the budget and budget deficit problems are totally different, that we can accomplish our goals without further hurting people who have already sacrificed.
You know, Congressman, that's exactly right. I mean, you have two positions that are really at either end of the polls right now. You've got the president and the Democrats in Congress saying no more cuts to the programs that the middle class cares about, and the Republicans saying no tax increases and very significant cuts. And that's why the question is, can this get done? Can this enormous yawning divide be closed between now and August, when everybody acknowledges that if you don't raise the debt ceiling, there could be an economic cataclysm? What is a process level is going to happen now?
Well, actually, there's a third voice, and that's the voice of the American people. 81% say that the best way to reduce the debt is to tax the millionaires and billionaires in our country. So when Boehner says, you know, we're broke, or the Republicans say we're broke, that's absolutely not true. We can solve our problem. The president has laid out a blueprint. We're willing to make cuts. We are willing to do that, but you have to put revenue on the table as well. The American people have already shown at town hall meetings all over the country that they are not for ending Medicare, that they're not for cuts in Social Security or Medicaid. Those are things that the Republicans seem willing to put on the table. You know, and it's also a big change for Boehner, who said just a few months ago that there was an adult moment coming and that his new members of his caucus had to do some growing and underline adult.
Now, if I then understand Speaker Boehner's speech this evening, he is saying there need to be cuts of at least $2 trillion. I presume he's talking over a decade of time, but getting agreement, getting agreement over that, where would you begin to find agreement on the first $1 trillion? Where do you think you could find common ground?
You know, I think we could look at some of the tax expenditures. We are still giving tax breaks to the oil and gas company. At first, the Republicans said, yes, we think that's a bad idea. Now they're kind of retreating on that. Imagine paying, you know, over $4 at the pump, at least here in Chicago, and still giving tax breaks to the oil companies. There are over $1.1 trillion in those kind of tax breaks. Is
there a tax loophole, tax expenditure, call it what you will, where you think in your conversations with the other side of the aisle there's agreement it should be closed? Everybody says, let's close the loopholes. One person's loophole is another person's incentive is the problem. Is there one that counts in terms of size that you think you could get agreement on?
You know, I was on the Fiscal Commission along with Senator Coburn, who's certainly a conservative and a deficit and debt hawk, and he agreed that we needed to put those kinds of tax expenditures on the table. He also agreed that we ought to look at the defense budget, the military budget, for some cuts. I mean, there are reasonable people that we can sit down with and work out a plan, but cutting Medicare and Medicaid is just not an option that the American people will accept. I think that the House Republicans are digging themselves into a very deep hole, and that the catastrophic effects of allowing the full faith and credit of the United States of America to disappear is just unspeakable, unthinkable, really. So I'm hoping that this pressure will bring them to the table with reasonable ideas.
All right. Well, Congresswoman, thank you for your thoughts on this. We are all waiting for that adult moment in Washington. It's like waiting for Godot.
Yes.
Who knows if it ever shows up. All right, Congresswoman, thank you so much. We'll be talking about this more in the weeks ahead, no doubt.